Om.
Namaskar. Are you someone who feels spiritual at heart but often finds yourself confused or overwhelmed by what is available online and in books? Are you looking for deeper path, a practice that is ancient, real, and authentic? Are you someone who's looking to understand the deeper truths of spiritual life from people who are themselves following the path? If yes, then this podcast is for you. I welcome you to the very first episode of this podcast, Talk on Shaktipat and Siddha Mahayoga. I'm truly honored and humbled to be starting this journey with you all. This space is born out of the blessings and visions of my gurus to bring clarity, truth, and simplicity to a path that is often either misunderstood or barely spoken about. We'll be talking about Shaktipat, Kundalini awakening, Siddha Yoga, and the inner journey of a spiritual life. My hope is that this podcast can offer real guidance, dispel myths, and share genuine spiritual wisdom that has been passed down through a living lineage, the Shaktipat Parampara, through the gurus who walk the path themselves and not just talk about it. Before we begin, I offer my humble pranam to my Param Guruji, Colonel T. Srinivasalu, whose presence and guidance on this episode is a blessing in itself. Before we go any further, let me take a moment to introduce myself properly. My name is Priyanka Khalp and I live in Gurugram, India. I am a psychologist by profession, but very reason that I chose psychology was because I was always hungry to spiritualize in life and to understand the deeper purpose of existence from a very young age. That curiosity to understand the inner world is what naturally pulled me towards spiritual practices as well. At a particular point in my life, when I was at rock bottom, nothing was working out for me. All I would pray internally and silently for was to find a true guru. And as they always say, when the seeker is truly ready, a true guru appears, and often in the most unexpected ways. That's exactly what happened to me. I have been on the path of Siddha Yoga for the last 5 years now and received my Diksha from Siddha Yogini Thanishka, a deeply dedicated and kind guru based out of the United States of America. This lineage, this connection, and this path has changed the course of my life, which during the episodes of this podcast we will discover further. Now, let me introduce to you someone very special, not just to me personally, but to many seekers around the world. Colonel T. Srinivasalu, lovingly called Guruji, is a retired army officer of the Indian Army and a deeply realized practitioner of Siddha Yoga. He received his initiation from his guru, His Holiness Swami Sahajananda Tirthji Maharaj, almost 2 decades ago. Welcome, Guruji, on this podcast, and thank you so much for gracing it.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Guruji. While still serving in the Indian Army, Guruji began his spiritual journey with full sincerity, and over time, he was entrusted with the responsibility of guiding others by his own Guruji. He has helped hundreds of people receive the sacred Kundalini awakening through the process called Shaktipat and has played a key role in keeping this ancient practice alive. He is also the author of several books, namely The Power Unknown to God, Blessed by His Guru, and many more that have helped the seekers understand this path more clearly. He is guru of my own guru, Siddha Yogini Thanishka, making him my Param Guru. In this episode, we will be talking about his journey, his transformation, and a deeper meaning of Shaktipat. Guruji, once again, thank you for joining us on this podcast. Your journey has been quite rare. Could you share with us how your spiritual path began while you were still in the Indian Army and what led you exactly to exploring the spiritual world?
I served in the army for about more than 3 decades. And initially, I was not at all I didn't have any interest in spiritualism as such. If I recollect my life in the army, I can say the first part has been basically preparing myself, and the second part was the actual part where my spiritual journey has started. As it happened, right from childhood, I used to read a lot of books, but mostly on adventure and fiction. Basically, I read many books on various expeditions, like and stuff like that. Then, on the eve of my joining army, one some strange event have happened. Rather, a few strange events during the first part of my life in the army. So, just before a few days, when I was to report on duty, I was just casually doing window shopping in the shopping center, and I bumped into a small pocket book of Bhagavad Gita. It's an English translation by Annie Besant.
Okay.
So the book was a small size book, looking little cute type, So I bought it, and the book was to be my constant companion for the next 21 years of my life. I don't know what triggered in me. I used to keep the book with me all the time. I used to carry it in my pocket, even while going for even military operations also. The book used to be in my pocket all the time.
That's a very powerful
And
image, Suji. Please go on.
yeah, and somehow I used to read it very, very passionately, the book. That reading, it has triggered off yet another incident in my life, about 2 to 3 years down the timeline. I casually happened to bump into Ramakrishna Mission bookstall on one of the Chennai Central Railway Station platform,
Okay.
because I was waiting for a train, a long distance train from the south. And it so happened that the train got delayed by 4 or 5 hours. So I didn't have anything to do.
Yes.
So I casually went to that bookstall. That was the first time I'm going to Ramakrishna bookstall. I casually picked up a few books written by Swami Vivekananda.
Okay.
I bought about 4 or 5 of them. One is on Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga,
Okay.
Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga. The small pockets, again, not very big, small size books only. And I read them while traveling in the train. Then from then on onwards, whenever I used to come on leave, I used to make it a point to visit that bookstall, and ended up buying more and more and more books. And that has led me to, I've not only finished Swami Vivekananda books, but I started buying various other Sanskrit texts. I mean, only the English translations, because I am not a Sanskrit scholar or anything. Upanishads, Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and stuff like that.
So, Guruji, right from then, your hunger to read more about the spiritual books had started, I'm guessing.
Yes, but then there is something else happened after that.
Okay.
Yet another kind of unexpectedly, I was doing window shopping in Connaught Place in New Delhi, and I bumped into another author. His name is Sir John Woodroof. Otherwise, his pen name is Arthur Avalon. He's, I think, contemporary of Swami Vivekananda. He lived about roughly around that time. So I bumped into one of his book, The Serpent Power.
The serpent
And
power. Okay.
yeah, The Serpent Power. And I picked up the book. That was the first time I'm really reading now about the Kundalini energy.
Okay.
Otherwise, I didn't have much knowledge about that earlier.
Earlier, you were
Other than
reading
vaguely,
philosophical books about scriptures.
yes.
Okay.
Now the practicals have, it is, you can say that it is about practicals.
Yes, Guruji.
So, but then even this book also, he dealt with that book about the intricacies of this thing to some extent.
Hmm.
But yet, that's also mostly theoretical only in nature,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
as I will explain you later on.
Hmm.
Because the experience is somewhat different, and the theory is always, it only gives you a general idea about it.
Of course, Guruji. Theory is always the first step, but then finally we have to progress to practical knowledge also.
Yes, yes.
But I
But
remember reading in your book, Power Unknown to God, that you also picked up books on physics, quantum physics, metaphysics. Where did that interest also
yes,
come in?
yeah. Again, while I was reading these books by Arthur Avalon, yet another incident happened that
Hmm.
was also unexpectedly.
Okay.
I was doing some kind of, I didn't have any work to do. I was free, so I was roaming in a library, and I was not seriously interested in picking up any book as such.
Hmm.
But one particular book, I was just going through the bookshelves. It attracted my attention. The name of the book was Universe and Dr. Einstein.
Universe and
It
Dr.
seems,
Einstein.
yeah,
Okay.
the Universe and Dr. Einstein. I don't
Okay.
remember the author's name because the book has captivated my imagination so much.
Okay.
I think I forgot about the actual
Forgot to
author.
read the author. Yes, Guruji.
Yeah, that. But then it seems the author himself was a colleague of Einstein who lived at that time, and because Einstein himself has written the introduction to that book,
Okay.
then that book has played up my imagination. I started, by borrowing more and more books on theoretical physics thereafter.
On physics.
Basically, the popular books, not the technical stuff,
Hmm.
the popular books written on theoretical physics and quantum mechanics.
Very interesting, Guruji, that you were
So,
blending
yeah,
the knowledge of spirituality and spiritual truths with physical concepts also.
yes. In the later years, when I tried to digest all this stuff, and I started getting a new insights, and my perception started changing about the things. So, in that way, these books helped me to some extent.
Yes.
Rather, it was preparing my mind basically.
Yes, yes. What I'm learning is that many coincidences were happening, which now we know were not coincidences, were leading you to your spiritual path slowly and steadily.
Yes,
And finally, you were here. Okay, that's incredible,
and
Guruji.
by the time this thing happened,
Hmm.
you can say roughly my first half of my service life was also over.
Okay.
Took me about, this study of books took me about nearly 15 odd years.
Hmm.
And during this 15 years, I had to in my personal life,
Okay.
I had to undergo a couple of knocks. As it happens with everyone.
Like it happens with
I
every
don't wish,
spiritual seeker.
I don't wish it. It should.
Yes.
But these knocks on the personal life, uh, it will only be for good only, ultimately.
Yes,
I
Guruji.
had undergone through a couple of failed marriages, firstly. Twice I got married and I had gone, the marriages failed. And then I had incurred heavy financial losses in online trading and all that. So that was yet another knock. And then I also happened to miss my promotion for the first time. Thus, my career also got frozen. So, with these four knocks, and with the kind of bookish knowledge which I already had, I think my mind was now fertile and it has now been prepared for the start of my spiritual journey. So, you can say that's how it has triggered my spiritual journey.
Yes, Guruji. I can also relate with this that, like I also said in my introduction, that there is a rock bottom. Like it just seems like there is no way forward. It's all dark, and that's when somehow the light of spirituality starts entering your life. And as you're telling us, this happened with you as well, with four big knocks in your life. All right, Guruji. So, could you take us back to the moment when you first received Diksha and, met your Guru? How was the experience? How did you come about there?
Yes, as I said, when these things were happening in my personal life, once I happened to come on leave to Hyderabad, and I used to have a childhood friend who was into all this spiritualism and all that. So I called him up casually one day evening just to say hi. And then he informed me that some Swami G is coming to his house on the same day. And he further said that he's a Shaktipat Guru. And literally, that was the first time in my life I'm hearing the word Shaktipat. Otherwise, I never even heard the word Shaktipat. Then he further said, I can also join him. And in case, if I'm interested, I can take Shaktipat Diksha, that is initiation by Shaktipat. So he asked me to come along with a overnight bag. So I went there in the night. By around 9 o'clock or so, Swamiji came. And then I had a pleasant surprise. The pleasant surprise was, I have met that Swamiji 21 years earlier on a train. That was a pleasant surprise for me.
So,
because
you
what
had
happened?
already met Swami G on a train 21 years back, and now after 21, cut to you again meeting him, again coincidentally.
Exactly. And in this 21 years time, I never met him again. Directly I'm meeting him after 21 years. So first time when I met him, I was around 15 years old. I was traveling on a train. I was going to a place called Uttarkashi. That time it used to be part of UP. Now it is in the state of Uttarakhand.
Okay.
So there is a famous mountaineering institute there, Nehru Institute of Mountaineering. So they used to organize, I believe even now they organize it, adventure courses for the kids, wherein they teach rock climbing and little bit of exposure to mountaineering. And of course, they also organize professional mountaineering courses also. So I was going to attend that adventure course, basically. And suddenly, I boarded the train in the night time. Next day morning, when I woke up, I saw this Swamiji next to me, next to my berth. And so thereafter, later on, we traveled together to Delhi, and then we departed. Then he invited me to his ashram, if possible, in Rishikesh. So then I casually picked up the slip of paper which he had given me, where the address was written. And I never thought that I'm going to meet him. And after we both bid farewell to each other, and I had some work to do, I halted for a day in Delhi. And then in the night time, I boarded the bus to Rishikesh. So in Rishikesh, what happened was, it so happened that I will not go into this minor details of this thing. First, we have to get down in Haridwar, and the Kumbh Mela was at its peak. I'm talking about 1986.
1986, Kumbh
Mela. Yeah, 1986. Yes. Kumbh Mela was at its peak.
Yes.
And for a kid like me, it was so difficult to find accommodation in any hotel. And with great difficulty, I could manage a small one bed in a dormitory, that too for about 12 hours, hourly based. And next day, I had to do my return journey reservation first before proceeding to Uttarkashi. And there was, because of the heavy rush, although there were so many counters established by the railways, it took me a long time before I could get my reservation done. And the last bus to Uttarkashi, in those days, night travel was, I think, banned. And the last bus has already left by around 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So I missed my bus to Uttarkashi. And then if I have to spend the second night in Haridwar, it would have costed me a lot of money again. Then I had this, bright idea of the teenager. But I thought that let me go away from this place as far as possible. The more away I go out of this Haridwar area, So maybe hotels will be cheap. Then I went to Rishikesh from there. It is close by only. Hardly it made any difference. The hotels were equally expensive there also. Then I didn't know what to do. Then someone suggested me I can catch a bus and go to a place called Tehri on the way to Uttarkashi. There's a small town called Tehri.
Okay.
They said that maybe you will get the hotels very cheap. So then, but then unfortunately, I missed my bus, the last bus to Tehri also. With no option, then I remembered the ashram address given by the Swami G there. I was in a way, the destiny was forcing me, in fact. It was opening out the way for me and nudging me to go to the ashram there. There I went. Then they said that the Swamiji hasn't still returned back. I think because after I left him in Delhi, he hasn't returned to Rishikesh from Delhi.
Okay.
So I didn't know what to do. Then I turned back. I started returning to coming down the hillock on which the ashram was located. Then all of a sudden I found Swamiji, climbing up the stairs. So that's how I got saved. I spent a night in the Rishikesh ashram, and next day morning I left the ashram, bid farewell to Swamiji, and never to see him again for 21 years.
21 years.
Yeah. And now on that day in Hyderabad, I met him. I recollected the entire sequence of events. I told Swamiji. Obviously, Swamiji also recognized me when I narrated the story, because he hosted me for a night in the ashram. So that's how he remembered me. Although he couldn't recognize my facial features and all that, but we recollected that incident. And next day, after meeting His Holiness around in the night, 9 o'clock, next day, early morning, 4 o'clock, we all sat for me along with some more people. And the Shaktipat ceremony was performed. And but then nothing had happened to me. I was told that when the Shaktipat is done, immediately there are going to be a lot of reactions in the body, etc.
Which we refer to as kriyas. The reactions
they refer to as kriyas.
Yes.
They refer to as kriya.
Yes.
The reaction is referred to as kriya. And nothing happened. I didn't feel anything. So that's all about. But then it took me 2 years later when the reactions have begun in full blown.
Okay.
So what happened after this is, during these 2 years, His Holiness made me perform a lot of mudras, pranayam, some mudras like Kapalbhati, Bhastrika, and one Shanmukhi mudra also I used to practice. And he also made me perform some sacrificial fire also regularly, once in a while. Of course, I can't reveal the mantra and the goddess now, to whom the sacrificial fire ceremony was being done. Like that, I used to do all these things which His Holiness told me to do.
So basically, what I'm understanding from you, Guruji, is that it is not necessary for kriyas to start dramatically on the spot at the time of initiation. For example, if in my case, they had started instantly on the very first minute of the Diksha that had started. For me, kriyas had started to begin. But then from what I'm learning from you is that it can even take a long time like it took for you. 2 years is a very long time.
Yes, I will explain to you later on why it happens that way.
Okay.
In a nutshell, all I can say is, suppose you want to light up fire to a haystack. There is a lot of grass, and you want to light up fire. You want to burn it down. Suppose if the grass is wet because of rain or something, obviously, even if you light fire, it won't catch. The fire will not rage. The condition has to be proper. Conditions have to be ideal. It means the grass has to be dry, and it should be preferably, in the afternoon time when the sun is hot. No, earlier you are trying to light the fire while it is raining. Firstly, you can't do that. Secondly, you don't even try to light a fire when, let's say, early morning, a lot of dew is there on the grass. The grass has to be dry. So similarly, when a person is receiving Shaktipat initiation, the awakening of Kundalini energy will take place when the conditions are proper in the mind. Of course, unlike this physical fire which we are trying to use, when the Shaktipat is done, it's spiritual fire. Therefore, it was not going to die down or anything. But then the conditions have to be met. Once the conditions are met, then the process will begin.
So beautifully explained by you, Guruji, using this analogy of fire with spiritual fire, and how the environment and the state has to be optimal for the fire to start getting ignited. So, as per you told me that for 2 years you were doing certain practices as per the instruction of your Guruji. Then what happened after those 2 years? Did the Kriya start?
Yeah. Yes, of course, the Kriyas have started, but there was an incident that happened before that.
Okay.
His Holiness we were visiting Rishikesh ashram. That time I was in a place called Srinagar in J&K in India. So he told me to come and meet him there. So I have driven down from Srinagar to Rishikesh and met His Holiness, and His Holiness expressed interest to further visit Gangotri also there. So I decided to drive him to Gangotri. So on the way to Gangotri, we were having a lot of discussions we used to do on spiritual subjects. There was some topic on which we were discussing. This is known as mental worship. We call it Manasik Puja.
Mental worship. Okay, Guruji.
Yeah, it's mental worship. We call it as Manasik Puja in Sanskrit or Hindi, I think. Instead of, let's say, for example, going to a temple, you go and offer flowers to the god or goddess, to the statue of the god or goddess.
Yes.
And offer other things, and physically offer your obeisance. Instead of that, what you do here is, in mental worship, everything you do it imaginatively. You imagine everything. You imagine the temple, you imagine the statue of the god, goddess. You imagine carrying yourself lots of flowers, and you imagine yourself the entire, like a film. You do it inside your mind.
Like visualizing it.
Visualizing everything, the entire process. And my Guruji, His Holiness, that told me that this mental worship is several times powerful than even the physical worship. But then I asked His Holiness, then why don't everyone do this? It is so easy. Why to go take the trouble of going all the way to temple? After all, temples are nothing but made of bricks only, stone only. Then His Holiness said, it is not that easy, for people to visualize in so much detailed manner. Because of this problem of visualization, they take the easy way. That is, physically they go and worship. So after this discussion, I requested my Guruji that henceforth, whether I can do this Manasik Puja or not. That is mental worship, which I have been doing for the last 2 years. As I said, I told you also, I've been performing a lot of sacrificial fire procedures. I'm doing that. And I was worshipping some gods and goddesses as per his directions. Then he asked me to do it. There's no problem. He blessed me and he gave me his permission. And after I returned back from the trip to Gangotri, I started doing the mental worship of the goddess, whom I have been worshipping for the last 2 years. And once I started doing this mental worship, then all of a sudden, Kriyas have begun for me one day. And in a violent way, you can say, not a violent way, I can't say that it's a violent way. It happened to me in a pleasant way only, but in a very intense way. Very intense. And for the next 4 years, I was doing very, very intense practice, both in Firstly, during first 2 years in Kashmir Valley, in Srinagar city. Then in high altitude area of Ladakh region, where I was later transferred. I was almost, you can say, at a 15,000 feet from the sea level. Oxygen also was not that much present in the air. Oxygen levels go down, you see, as you go up in the high altitude. And the temperatures also used to be very severe. They used to plunge to minus 40 degrees or so in winters. And in spite of such adverse weather conditions, there was no break in my sadhana. And in a month, I could count on my fingers only how many days I must have missed my practice. Other than that, it used to be continuous, and till the time, you can say that about 4 years, it was a very, very serious, severe, or rather serious sadhana which I did before I have left the Himalayas.